Welcome to Heart and Hand Extra. The weekend preview show is finally back after 2 weeks of interminable international football, and that's not easy to say, as I've just demonstrated. Joining me tonight to preview the upcoming match against Hamilton Accies is Alex Staff.
Hi David, how you doing?
I'm good, mate. Is it just me, or in life they tell you that with more experience things become easier to handle, but I'm not finding that with these international breaks, I have to be honest.
I don't know if it's just me. It feels as though there's been more of them this season
doesn't it?
Than any other, and that might just be the playoffs thrown in, but I'm sure there's usually something at this time. I don't know why. Maybe it's just because there's been so much happening with Rangers that we've wanted to get things moving along, and these breaks seem to have stopped us every 5 minutes.
I would totally agree with that. I feel that we've not been able to, well, for circumstances of our own creation as well, let's be honest, but we've never really been able to just get a run going with no interruptions. There always seems to have been something in the way, and international football, I suppose, is great if you're involved in it and you're a huge fan in international football, but I think the dominance of club football, and we can argue whether or not that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I think we would all agree that it is a thing. And for most fans, I think that these 2 weeks are just, let's get through this and then we can get back into a routine. And I think that's us till March though now, so I think we do have a bit of a break. Yes. Thankful.
Certainly that way when you consider there's only, in Europe anyway, 8 teams with competitive games.
Yeah.
You know, you just have to look at that England squad and the amount of top players who just decided, I can't be bothered with that.
No. And the quality of the two matches. The quality of 2 matches was appalling. Great on paper, but, I mean, unwatchable draws.
Exactly, and if the players aren't interested, then you're never going to get the fans interested. So, you know, that's the biggest issue with these ones. And I mean, I know there was talk in the past of turning the qualifiers into almost like a tournament. No, I don't know if it would be another summer tournament or the likes, but I actually think that would probably work better than what we're dragging ourselves through just now.
Yeah, I would be intrigued by that notion of, you know, just doing it in a kind of a 6-week block sort of thing. I can see that being something that would spark more interest, but we've got our team back, and it's great, and stuff has been happening. So we'll start off with the match itself. Now we did play a competitive match, and I think it turned out to be quite a competitive match in a testimonial for Berwick Rangers Stephen Notman, and I was great with this until I found out he was ex-Hibs. And then, it's like what we do. But that big evil Rangers again, you know, with our ability to turn up and bring fans, what are we like?
Terrible. We should really take a long hard look at ourselves in the mirror and wonder just what we're doing.
You know, it's such an odd thing, all these clubs. See, I always found Wraith Rovers, I remember when they were really struggling financially, and we sent down under Advocate, we sent a team there, and our reward for that years later is for them to be one of the loudest and most petty of the clubs trying to put the boot in, but that's for another day. But we went with a reasonably strong side of guys that I think would be considered, if not first teamers, but on the fringes of the first team squad. Lee Hodgson, David Bates, Dalcio, Eduardo Herrera and Aaron Neman all played, and also a return for his first match since having his nose broken for Fabio Cardoso. Rangers won the match 4-0, goals from Dalcio, Neman, Atakai and Thompson. So, it sounds like a good workout, I have to admit. I didn't get to it, Berwick being a bit of an arseache to get to on a Wednesday night. But from what I saw on the official channels, it looked a more than useful exercise considering it was a testimonial.
Yeah, those games are normally just a kickabout. I was almost expecting Notman to come out in a Rangers strip for the last 20 minutes. That's normally the way those sort of games go. So you're right, for a Wednesday night testimonial, it does seem as though we've taken it quite seriously. And that in turn will have seen Berwick pretty much do the same. So hopefully a good workout for a few of the players who maybe haven't had much game time recently.
Well, the ones that interested me are Dalcio and Neman, both of whom have had limited game time, and I think us being Rangers fans, a few people have made up their mind already. And Dalcio wasn't great when we saw him, but it was, you know, early appearances. I do, though, I must admit that I'm not one of these who, or I try not to be one of these who a player becomes better by us not seeing him. I do always think that there's no way a manager, especially a manager who's struggling like Pedro was, has some superstar in training that he's just for some unknown reason not picking. But against that, we could do with options in the areas that Dalcio and the man play in. So it's a kind of catch-22. Are they doing enough in training to get into the team, or is it a case of that, you know, we've signed them on unbreakable contracts and we're almost sort of lumbered with them for a year? Are these guys that we could hope might make an impact now that it's been a wee while and they're settled in, or is it the ship has sailed?
I mean, the man is only on loan until January, and seemed to be a bit of a punt by Mark Allen in many ways. You know, somebody that he'd known from the academy down there, bring him up, see how he does. I don't want to write him off on very little, like you say, but difficult to see because he's only here on loan until January that he's going to make much of an impact. Dalcio, when the fans are starting to pretty much laugh and cheer when you come on the pitch and get a touch of the ball, then it's not a good sign that you're ever going to get anywhere, is it? I mean, that's Cillian Kerker, Sibo levels of kind of cult status now. If you consider they're up against essentially Windass and Candace, and if Windass could finish a ball, he'd be one of our best players this season, and Candace is clearly one of our best players this season. So, you know, in many ways, they've not really had much of a chance because those two are performing pretty well in many respects. I imagine I'll get a bit of reaction for saying that about Windass, mind you.
I'm just trying to get my eyebrows back down now after they shot up in shock. I mean, I would agree with you on Candace. I can't agree with you on Windass. I think there has been improvement the last couple of weeks, and in fact, at this point is probably the closest he's come to cementing his place in the side. But up to that, I thought his form had been patchy at best.
I actually agreed with what he said. I think the judgment of his form is very much tainted by all the chances that he's missing. Now, I'm not, defending that. That is poor. Some of those chances were absolute sitters. Kind of reminding us of the bad old days when Thomas Buffel decided that he was never going to score a goal for Le Guen. But he's contributing. He still seems to be one of the main men in the pitch for us going forward. And I feel as though maybe sometimes we're just a little bit harsh because it cost us essentially a couple of results through his misses and his sitters.
At the end of the show today, folks, when we give out the Twitter addresses, send your hate tweets to Alex about that, because people tend to listen to stuff on the pod and they come to me with it and say, I can't believe, and I'm like, well, I didn't say it, so no, I don't edit out when they say things like that. So let me temper it just by saying that I do understand why people are complaining about him. I just think that right now in that position, because we never signed Jamie Walker, he's doing more than anybody else would have done, and will probably retain the position even when Lee Wallace comes back. A lot of people think Declan John's just going to step forward. I'm not convinced. No, neither am I. I think that there is. I think it's worth trying if they feel that he can do that, because I know that he did play sometimes there for Cardiff. But it's not the automatic thing that some people seem to think it is, that if you push an attacking fullback forward, the better. And the best example I can think of that actually is Dani Alves, who at the time I'd say is probably the best right back in the world. And Barca would shove him into midfield and he was awful. And they almost immediately put him back to right back. So for some players, it's something they can do. For other players, I remember Lee Wallace, in fact, under Ali, when he would put him in front of Sasa Papac, and it just did not work at all, and he looked like a fish out of water. Because if you've played in a position for a number of years and you've learned how to do it, and a lot of football in general is it comes naturally, it must be very difficult to then be put into a new position and just thrust in and expected to be good.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people just tend to forget what makes that player effective going forward. The further forward you play, the more often you've got your back to the opposing goal. So, a fullback very rarely has to do that. They're always facing forward and they're always able to get that run. They're able to get the pace going. You see it with Tavernier and Wallace all the time. When they're playing, Declan John does that as well. It's a very different thing when you're playing in midfield and you're having to go short to go and get the ball and start from there than it is when you're running from fullback to be the option, and that's what makes those players effective. And the minute you step them forward, you take that big element out, and they then need to start having a bit of guile and a bit better strength on the ball with their back to goal and things like that. And that really isn't their game at all at fullback. And as you say, when you've played there for years and then you're asked to do something completely different, unless you're a top player, it's really not easy.
The coming from deep thing, I remember Gordon Jury, whose Rangers career was decent, but he'd done really well in England, and part of it was that Gordon Jury, at his peak, one of his big strengths is he was fantastically powerful running with the ball, but he kind of had to get a head of steam up. And when he was playing down south at the time, Chelsea weren't what they are now. Spurs were very Spursy, and at Hibs before that, they could play guys on the halfway line because teams would push up against them, and of course at Ibrox, especially back then, teams never did. So instead of having that extra maybe 20 yards to build up that head of steam, he was having to start much further forward, and I think it did dim his effectiveness. And that is just, as you say, a question of where you're starting, what you do on the pitch. I mean, Tavernier's effectiveness comes from these big driving runs from a certain position, and if you push him up 20 yards further forward, the idea that they'll automatically just be the same but further forward, I don't believe is always the case.
Definitely doesn't work like that. And I think there's actually a player that we've forgotten about, and certainly Scott never wanted to think about, is Mr. Michael O'Halloran, who suffered exactly from that very thing, where regardless of where he played for us in a more forward position, he no longer was up against teams who would give him space to run into and let him get facing the opposing goal, and that's why quite often he looked pretty ineffective for us as compared to how he seems to do at St Johnstone.
Yep, no, I totally agree, and it's I thought, and I mentioned on the pod, now this is before we go into the whole some players can't play at bigger clubs, and it just is a fact, some players can't handle the you see it all the time in England. They go to a top six side and they're very poor, but then they return to a slightly lower club and they're the main man. And I wonder if O'Halloran is that. So if that's part of his psychological makeup, there's nothing that can be done for him. But in terms of what he has an attacking attribute, I always felt that it might have been worth trying to make him into a striker, because again, if you just those little sharp bursts of pace over 3-4 yards, and especially if we had somebody who could play the ball through to him, I always wondered if it was worth doing that. But it wasn't something that was ever tried under Warburton that I can remember anyway.
I think he played one game up front against Raith Rovers away from home. I think that rings a bell, and I don't even know if he started the game. I don't know if he came on.
I know the one you mean.
It might have been Falkirk or something.
No, I think you're right. We won 1-0. Andy Halliday scored. I think you're right. He came on as a sub that night. I'm pretty sure. If we're wrong, the people on Twitter will no doubt let us know. But by that stage,
I think I've seen him once. Do you know? Funny. You're saying play him as a striker. I actually think he might have been more effective for Rangers as a right back.
Interesting.
He'd done it in pre-season a bit, and he seemed to do quite well. And it's, as I say, it's just about getting him facing the game all the time.
It's a thing that's happening more and more. Ashley Young being a case in point. I mean, when he first got put to right back, or Valencia at Man United, who's now their captain. I remember when he first got tried there, I was what? But it was exactly for that reason that they were like, this is a great, powerful runner with the ball, and if we can teach him how to tackle it or get a centre half that can cover him, then we'll have a weapon. And he has been several games for United. He's been one of their key attackers.
Yeah. It's just one of those things with certain players. If you're in the side that's going to dominate possession, if you're in the attacking team, your defensive strengths aren't really a big issue anymore. Managers will be pretty confident they can teach someone how to defend, but it's very difficult to teach someone how to be that good on a ball running at people. That takes a certain amount of genetics and kind of strength and breeding and stuff like that, sounding like Gordon Strachan now. But it takes, it's much more difficult to teach that than it is to teach someone, okay, here's how you stand when you're facing up to a winger. Here's how you block. Here's your positioning if the ball's on the other side of the pitch. You can teach that a bit more than you can the other stuff. So I think that's why you see that more now. And Valencia is actually a really good example of that. And see, if you want to go way back. Well, we'll say way back. If you want to get back further, as much as we don't like to mention them, Celtic done exactly that with Didier Agat. And he wasn't a great player, but he certainly done a job for them over the years.
That's right.
And he was a striker when they first signed him, and all of a sudden he was a right wing back under O'Neill.
Yeah. And it was
a
pace,
very similar idea.
It was pace and ability to run with the ball. No, that's a very good point, and it is something that I think's been seen more and more. But he won't be available, obviously, because he's on loan for Saturday. But I don't foresee a lot of changes now. I would say that we've played Hamilton, obviously, recently, and we won 4-1. A very good performance from Rangers after a very, very shoddy start. At a time when confidence was really low, we gave away a really silly goal in the opening minute, and I think a lot of us thought, here we go. But then Declan John got us back in with 2 goals, and even a sending off of Ryan Jack, the one he's deserved, the only one he's deserved. So the only red card that he's had, actually. I still thought we looked like the better side up until the last 15 minutes, where we allowed Hamilton a couple of chances, but they missed a penalty. But by that, the game was done and everybody knew it. What I would say, Alex, is that although Rangers, I think Rangers' best performance this season so far has been the last hour, if you like, the second half and the 15 minutes before it at Murrayfield. And although that win is one of our higher scoring wins this season, I have to say that I thought that Hamilton Accies' performance that night was the worst of any opposition team against us so far this season. So I'm not sure how much to read into that.
I would completely agree with that, yeah. They crumbled when we equalised. They're pretty sure they played a back three that night, and we were finding gaps through them with ease in that, for most of that first half. You remember Morelos missed an absolute sitter as well. I think that was at 2-1. They just seemed to, the minute we equalised, they just seemed to crumble, which was strange given that we were the team getting in, having just lost the game to Celtic. The whole Kenny Miller situation, all the rumours that were kicking about Pedro, 1-0 down after a minute. We all thought we were going to be the one to have a nightmare, but they just seemed to crumble that night. And they're a strange team, Hamilton, actually, in terms of how they seem to perform. Very, very inconsistent.
Which is why you would normally be confident going into this. Rangers with a couple of decent results in the last few weeks. Confidence, you would imagine, be slightly higher. It looked at, I have to say, in our last match, it looked at that the players had a little bit just body language, and I don't want to claim to be an expert, read into it, but they played with a kind of authority that they haven't played with for a while. But as you say, you never know if Hamilton are going to turn up and deliver the performance they did against us that night, or a heroic, backs to the wall, excellent on the break type performance, as we saw from them at Ibrox last season. So they are a massively unpredictable side. They drew 1-1 at Ibrox last season and lost 6-0. There's no rhyme or reason to it, which is, of course, I think one of the key things in terms of most players who get to the Premier League, even in Scotland, which isn't the strongest league, have a level of ability. The better ones might not necessarily have hugely more ability than others, but they can show it every week, whereas for some people it comes out occasionally, and that's why they're at clubs like Hamilton as opposed to maybe being clubs even in Scotland like, say, Hibs or Aberdeen.
Yeah, I mean, you can take, there's a player at Hamilton that's spoken about for years, and I think many Rangers fans would still want to see him signed, and that's Ali Crawford. But you're talking, he's 26 now. He's never made the move away from Hamilton. He was certainly looked at a few years ago by many clubs, but I think he's exactly what you're talking about. He's certainly got ability, but I don't think anyone's ever thought he has the mentality to step up and be that good, that consistently, for a bigger club. So
especially as Hamilton are a scouted club, because of McCarthy and because of MacArthur, that they are a club that are on even English clubs' radar as having had, certainly in the past at least, a good development system. So you're right, he will have been looked at.
Definitely he was, yeah. I mean, there was plenty of stories at the time, and obviously he had links to ourselves as well under Warburton, because I think he was going out of contract at that point. But for whatever reason, he's still there, and as I say, he's 26 now. The days are gone where a player would stay at a club in Scotland until they were 27, 28 and then make a move to England, because there's no challenge up here for a good player, so they're away as quickly as they possibly can. So it's hard to imagine him getting a bigger move anytime soon. Which then makes you wonder just what was the reason, for somebody of his ability. Why is he still there?
Yeah, well, like I say, I think it's consistency, and we would tend to see him. And you're right about people, and I was one of them a few years ago, said maybe worth a punt, but we would only tend to see him in bigger matches when at times these teams give a little more. And I remember seeing Graham Souness at the Loudon Tavern discussing that. He said one of the things that came as a massive shock to him was he would say to Walter Smith after a match against Rangers, "Walter, get somebody to scout that boy, he was terrific in midfield today." And Walter would go, "Aye, but wait to see him play next week." And he said, and it was true, that the guy would then not play that level again up until they played Celtic or Rangers. And so that's something we definitely have to be aware of come Saturday. From the team perspective, Alex, I can only see there being a slight debate. I think the team will be as was. I think the only slight debate is Bruno Alves. It was a strong decision by Graham Murty's, and he's showing with the Miller and then with that he's not afraid to make these decisions. Do you see him sticking with the same 11? Because this is a big game for us because of this magical, mystical 3 games in a row, and it's the longer these things go on, then they become things, and we will not get a better chance than this run of fixtures, and you get the monkey off your back, and then all talk of it goes, and it's nothing to be considered again. But while I would hope it's something that's more in the mind of the fans than it is of the players, they're only human, and we really have to win this match. It's like all Rangers games are big, but I think this one has an extra significance.
It does, yeah, a little bit, because as you say, just that slight, you would start to ask some serious questions if you couldn't get over the line in a game against Hamilton at home to get that third win in a row. Much the same as everybody asked the same questions when it happened against Kilmarnock a few games ago. So, yeah, in that respect, as you say, the players need to play with that sort of confidence and arrogance almost that they had against Thistle. That's what I felt. I think you were right earlier when you said they looked a bit more, authority. There was just a sort of, look, we're much better than you, here's how we're going to show it, about that game. It takes on that by extra significance. I think Bruno Alves will start though. I just think that he's one of those guys that his level of ability, plus probably what we're paying him in wages, means that if he's fit and ready to go, he plays. And I think it was just last time was just didn't have that long with the team, etc. Kept the same team together, but this time, a couple of extra weeks, I think he might just start. There's also the potential that Ross McCrory took a bit of a knock for the under-21s there, so he may be missing anyway, so that would force that change.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think that you try to get your better players into the side, and although Bruno Alves maybe hasn't hit the heights that we had hoped so far, I still think you play him if fit, and I would agree that'd be the change. Now, interestingly, in the last match, and you and I chatted about this, and we have a slight disagreement on this, and Alex and I are the tactical nerds, but we have a slight disagreement on it, and you will be able to hear more of that in the new Heart and Hand subscription service, which launches next month, where we'll have shows that will do things like this, where we take a little point that we're going to discuss now, but we'll expand it. And you don't believe that we play 4-4-2, and no. I think that you're right, but I think ostensibly we were meant to in the last match, and we saw though that Kenny Miller, we saw the other side of him from the one that we saw at Hearts. I thought Miller was really, really poor, and because he was poor, he was at times playing as an auxiliary midfielder. I
think just looking at the way we've shaped up this season, there was a noise about 4-4-2 at the start of the season, obviously after the Progress debacle, and then the two friendlies we seem to kind of line up that way. But in truth, Kenny Miller's never really played, aside from the Hearts game, at no point has he played a position where I think he's playing as a second striker today. You know, he's almost been asked to be the playmaker. You know, it's not even a number 10. It's even deeper than that again. You know,
you're correct. I mean, the last match he was next. A lot of the time he was next to Jason Holt and Ryan Jack, and I would have Kenny Miller in the team at the moment, absolutely, but I would really seriously not want him as you say, as a playmaker, because I just don't think he has or ever had the ability to do that. It's not what he's good at.
It's not. No, it's not. I mean, even in the Hearts game where he played well, if we spoke about this after the game, if you remember that first kind of 10-15 minutes, he gave the ball away more than once, killed a couple of cracking chances, and you're thinking, oh man, this is a nightmare. And then he grew into the game as it went on and made that great pass for Windass's goal.
Yeah.
But he's not. You're right, he's not like a consistent playmaker or someone that you would have on the pitch and think, right, he's going to create a few chances through his play. He creates chances through his movement, and he creates chances through his intelligence. He doesn't create chances through his touch and his passing. So it's a strange one to have seen him play so deep all season. I don't believe that he was asked to play next to Morelos like that and was doing what he wanted all the time. I don't think he would have played as many games under Caixinha if he was being blatantly disrespectful to what he's asking.
Well,
as he did. I know eventually that ended, but
I think there was more to it, though. I think there were psychological. Yeah, Caixinha. I think there were more. I think he was in the team at times for reasons other than football, and then I think he was out of the team at times for reasons other than football. So I think that personalities came into that a lot. But I know what you're saying. I think it's just that Kenny has the seniority and the, if you like, the stroke, and has had for a while. And I think it's the Wayne Rooney syndrome, that when he gets frustrated, he hairs off after the ball, which you can understand. But I like him when he's further up, because, as you say, his movement, his work rate, and he's still got that ability to get into positions. And even against Hearts, you mentioned, you're quite correctly, that there were a lot of time Morelos dropped a bit deeper, and created Kenny Miller's first goal, actually. So I like the idea of them exchanging, if you like, that role, because I think that causes more problems for defenders where they don't know which one to go and pick up. So that while they might not be playing in partnership, as it were, in the kind of McCoy's Hateley style, they are almost a tandem, but switching constantly. Yeah,
I guess. I mean, yeah, it looked that way to me in the Hearts game. I actually quite like it, because I think Morelos is actually quite good when he drops deeper back to go on the turn. He can find a bit of a pass, and I actually quite like him in that role.
Yeah, me too.
I just wish we had another version of him in front of him,
Yes, absolutely.
But yeah, to me it seemed as though in the Hearts game they decided, for whatever reason, okay, Christophe Berra is going to sit right on you, Alfredo, so you just drag him out and let Kenny play a bit further forward this time. And it worked, obviously. But I think I think it might be the only time Kenny's been asked to do that in a season. Every other time, I think he's been asked to drop deeper. And I think in the Partick Thistle game, Murty's actually asked him to kind of drop in and be that player. I don't think he's just kind of defying instruction. I think part of it is his instruction. It's funny, actually. I'll mention this, and again, I've already said Josh Windass is doing better than we think, so I'm going to take a mauling anyway. But I'm going to say this as well. See, in that role, if you're looking for that person to be an attacking player, like just solely focusing on the attacking side of things, Pena was slightly more effective in that sense alone than Miller. And it was only because Kenny sees himself as a forward dropping deep, whereas Pena saw himself as a midfielder getting forward. And that's why he was often the one in the box in the end of crosses and things like that. Whereas Kenny's often miles away for that stuff when it goes in. But there's no way I could even suggest that Carlos Pena has been doing well. As much as I'm of the opinion some of the criticism has been over the top, I'm certainly not going to say he's been doing well either.
I think, though, that's a really good point, that the difference between a striker who sees himself as a striker dropping back and a midfielder who sees himself as a midfielder pushing forward, I think that's true. But without either of us claiming to have any inside information, which we're not at the moment, but hand on heart, do you expect to see Carlos Pena in a Rangers jersey again?
I don't know. If he's not on the bench this Saturday, then no. Given that he was supposed to be at Berwick and there was no sign of him.
Yeah.
The only positive reason for that could be that they decided, we're going to involve him on Saturday. Let's not take any chances with him, given he's been training earlier and all that sort of stuff. That's the only way I can see that being a positive. If he's not even on the bench on Saturday, that suggests he's done.
Yeah, I know. I totally agree with that, and well, certainly under this manager, that I think would be a fair thing to say.
Yeah.
And just before we go on to chat about the wearying saga of Rangers seeking a manager, again, you'd think we'd get used to it after the last couple of seasons, but here we are. And just before I'd touch on the subscription service, for those of you who maybe didn't hear the previous two pods, as of next month, we'll be launching a new subscription service. It'll cost you $1.99 per month, and for that you'll get a minimum of 20 to 25 hours extra content, including daily updates, shows about Rangers history, season reviews, individual match watch-alongs, all these kind of things, history of Gers. We'll be giving you some great content, and we'll be asking you for your ideas, whatever you want to do. $1.99, 50p a week, you won't even miss it. But for those of you who are like, I'm not paying for this, you will still get your Monday and your Thursday/Friday podcast for free. The flagship and this will be free, always will be, will never change, so please don't worry about that. But for those of you who like a bit more content on your commute or whatever, then it will be available to you. So and of course, the more people that subscribe, the more money we'll have to then reinvest back into it, so that'll be things like video and whatnot, and enable us to buy equipment and one thing or another. So that's the plan, just to expand the Heart and Hand universe even further. So, managers, the only thing of note that happened over the last 2 weeks was a statement. The only concrete thing, obviously there's been rumours every day, but the only concrete thing I think would be the statement which was released on last Friday the 10th of November at 5:30 on the official website, and I'll just read it in full. It was very short for those of you who may have missed it. The club confirms that since the departure of Pedro Caixinha, it has received numerous applications for the now vacant position and is anticipating further applications by the end of next week, which will be when a lot of you are coming to listen to it. The club will then consider all viable options available to it. At this time, the club has not interviewed any candidate and will take its time to ensure that the best possible decision is made. Now, Alex, I have to be honest that this statement puzzled me, because there wasn't a lot of call for it as far as I was aware. There wasn't a lot of noise that, if you like, mandated the club had to speak out. And what it essentially said is that we haven't actually done anything yet, and we are still hoping someone sends in a great CV. I have a feeling that the longer this goes, the less the chances of Derek McInnes, who's been the long quoted favourite, because surely it would be difficult for the board in terms of credibility to turn around after 8 weeks and appoint the guy who most people felt they could have appointed the day after sacking Caixinha.
It would be difficult, yes. I don't think it would be wrong, though. I had a few reactions to the statement, actually. Firstly, we tend to take these things very, at face value when the club says it. I don't know if everything in that statement is entirely factual. Let's just say that. When it says, they're playing with words a bit, the club haven't interviewed any candidates yet.
Yes,
no,
exactly.
But I'll guarantee you've sounded out more than a few.
Correct.
So it did very much give the impression that they've done nothing, which I don't believe for a second is the case. Secondly, I don't think it completely rules out McInnes, because...
Oh, no, I'm not saying it does. I'm just saying that for me, the longer it goes without appointing him, if I'm Derek McInnes, my reading of that is that they think I'm here, and they can come and get me if they want to, but they're hoping someone better comes along. That would just personally, that's how I would read that if I was in his shoes.
Potentially, yeah, potentially he could. He certainly could, actually. I mean, he's getting rather spiky in his press conference.
He absolutely
asked
is.
about it.
Correct. Yes.
So you could be feeling a little bit of frustration at it as a minimum. I think, but my point was that if the club considers everybody, or has a good short list in mind and gives them all due consideration, and then still comes to the conclusion that Derek McInnes is the best candidate, that's actually a better process than let's go and get Derek McInnes straight away.
Correct. Yeah, I can see the argument.
And it's how any workplace would go. And that way we always talk about how do these guys keep getting jobs, and you look at somebody like a David Moyes, for example, who's had a few horror shows. Steve McLaren seems to always get jobs despite years and years of not really doing it now. All these guys. What tends to happen at a club is somebody gets sacked on a Saturday, and by the next Wednesday, the board have hired someone because, to be honest, they've kind of panicked and went, right, who's available right now? Go and get him. And they haven't really done any due diligence, and they're relying on a bit of luck, and then so many clubs end up burning their way through 3 or 4 managers in a short space of time because they haven't really done any work when they've been replacing them, and then eventually enough mud sticks on the wall. I actually don't mind the process. I know that it can still go wrong. People point to how long it took to appoint Kashinya. The fact that he wasn't the man doesn't mean the process was wrong.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's like the director of football model. You may have a bad director of football. It doesn't mean that the idea of the position is wrong.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's taken a bit of time, and I think that it would be good. I wouldn't imagine the board are unanimous on this.
They're not.
I'm pretty well. Yeah, you'll know a bit better than myself. I wouldn't imagine they would be, but it's certainly going to get more backing if you let everybody explore their options, and then they all come to a decision afterwards of saying, well, do you know what? Yeah, Derek McInnes actually is the best man for the job. And even if that takes 4 or 5 weeks, it would be a better place than the hiring of Kashinya, which took long enough, but was never really a decision that everybody was on board with. Let's be honest.
No.
It would be a bit better if we could have a bit more backing for whoever comes in straight away from everybody. I did say there was a few reactions, didn't I? And yes. I feel as though I'm forgetting one of them now.
Was it possibly to do with, as I felt, and you may totally disagree with this, but I wasn't sure that statement was entirely aimed at us.
Actually, yeah, I would agree. For fear of adding some fuel to certain people's flames, it almost read like James Traynor saying, "Haha, you guys are running all these exclusives and not one of you is correct."
Yes, I thought that. I mean, that to me, it was basically not a harsh interpretation to say it was like, we haven't done anything, so all these stories are bullshit, lol. And like I say, because the statement was unprompted and because it fired up a lot of discussion which wouldn't have taken place had it not gone out, then to me it wasn't aimed at us. I don't believe, or wholly. I don't believe it was wholly aimed at us. But time will tell anyway with that. But in terms of names that have been mentioned, because one of the things that people have considered, and I can see the logic behind it. It may totally be true or it may totally not be true, was that perhaps the club were considering international managers, and obviously international managers who were engaged in fixtures during this international period, and probably competitive fixtures. Names mentioned are Michael O'Neill and Chris Coleman in particular have been mentioned. Also the Australian coach Ange Postecoglou, I think it is, but correct me if I'm
glad
wrong.
You said that rather.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong. Names that have been mentioned. Now, I mean, first things first, there's no way they could get away with that Australian guy. The board have got to know that. It's not about what you or I or anyone else thinks, or anyone who will take the time to go and study. It's your rank and file Rangers fan is not going to accept another name that they have completely never heard of.
Agreed, yeah. Even, in fact, well, I've heard of him, but Michael O'Neill would have been, or if he has been considered, would be a bit of a stretch as well, just because of his lack of club experience. This guy would have been even more so, because people would look at it and go, well, what's he even done in Australia? How difficult can that be? So yeah, he would. You can't imagine he would be a serious consideration. Surely not, as you say. That would be a very bold move after everything that's happened. Definitely.
Yes, definitely. I mean, Michael O'Neill or Chris Coleman, my problem would not be with them as managers per se, right? Because, or as individuals, rather. I just don't like the idea of clubs appointing managers based on international success, because I just find it far too different a sphere. There's no transfers, there's no day-to-day. You get players together every month or longer for a few days and you work on them. The argument, I suppose you could say, is, well, they have to be tactically astute, correct, because they have to work with what they have. But I just think it's such a different job with so many more aspects to it, and I don't know how much I would trust that ability can transfer. And I keep thinking back with Michael O'Neill particular to Lawrie Sanchez, who did incredibly well at Northern Ireland, and then had a pretty undistinguished managerial career, landed a good job at Fulham, and was not that long before he was bounced out of it. And I think it is because it wasn't that Lawrie Sanchez, the international manager, was poor. It was just that the change in culture was I think too much for him, and that would be my concern with anybody hired from the international management scene.
I'm actually trying to think of a manager who made his name internationally, then went to club level and was considered a success.
Aye, because it's not like Allardyce, for example, who's got this demonstrable track, or Bobby Robson.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of the guys who maybe took a spell in international and then came back had already built up a rep to get that international job in the first place. But if you take somebody like, as you say, Lawrie Sanchez is a great example. Yeah, even if you think more recently of Slaven Bilic, who made his name internationally, came into club football with West Ham, done okay for a spell, but now, as we've seen, last season and how he started this season before he gets sacked, he didn't sustain it. And I just can't think off the top of my head, and maybe the listeners will be able to point to somebody for me, but I can't think off the top of my head someone who made a name through international management, then came into club management and really took off. It's not something I can get think of pretty easily at all.
The only one that's jumping into my mind is Frank Rijkaard, but exceptional circumstances, huge spending club, amazing talent coming through, literally a once in a generation batch of talent coming through, and the fact that he's never been quoted since, I think, indicates. But that's the only one I can think of, and I just don't like the path. I don't think that I don't think it's as clear and as straightforward as he does well at this, therefore it's the same job. I think the jobs are just too different, and I think it would be a wee bit naive to say it isn't. One of the things I want to talk to you about is the Graham Murty previously wasn't looking for the job. This time he is. Not that he'll be gutted and quit if he doesn't get it. He'll happily go back to, he stated, he'll happily go back to his job. He enjoys it. But he is, made it clear that this time he would be after the job full time. Now, the board seem quite happy to let him. There are reports that he's been told he'll be in charge for at least the next 4 matches. The board seem to be quite happy to let him. Is it perhaps that they're hoping that he has that 5-6 game run, does well enough that they can say, well, we have the man in situ, and appoint him?
They would certainly take that if they were offered it. I think, yeah. If they haven't got an outstanding candidate in mind, as they're suggesting, as what it seems to be, and they're looking for something to come in, or if who they really want just isn't available at the moment, then I think that, they probably would just leave Murty in and be happy to leave Murty in for as long as his results are going well. It wouldn't take much to turn that, though. In fact, there you go. There, I've remembered what my main point was about the statement and our manager search. This decision's bigger than this season.
Yeah, it is.
And a lot of people are getting really wound up by the idea of Murty being in charge of the Aberdeen doubleheader. If he's in charge of the Aberdeen doubleheader, but we still get the right man in after that, then to me that's a job well done. It's academic beforehand. If this season doesn't turn out to be a league winning season, we weren't expecting that anyway. So getting the right man in is more important than than having somebody in time for 2 games against Aberdeen. So, yeah, all it would take, though, if they did keep Murty in for those games, is to lose both of those games.
Yeah.
And the fans would turn on it big time. And, Murty's a very likeable guy. I have concerns whenever any caretaker takes over and goes into the full job. I don't think it's something that leads to much success very often. So, I wouldn't want to see him get it full time as much as, he's a great guy and all that. But, it wouldn't take very much if he did get it full time for the fans to start questioning the board. It would only take a couple of poor results, and a new manager might not get, or might not be under that much pressure if they come in, to be honest.
It's kind of Craig Shakespeare at Leicester syndrome, that sometimes if an unpopular manager who's been overseeing an underperforming squad is replaced, the caretaker sometimes gets a bounce simply by not being the previous guy. And when he becomes the full-time guy, the dynamic changes. And players then, their psychology changes on how they look at him. And I wonder, and that's not to denigrate him, but I just wonder if part of that is what's happened with Murty on this occasion, that it's been someone that the players did not get on with, and most are pretty happy is no longer there, and they played with a freedom that they weren't. But then if he became the full-time manager, they start to look at him in a different way. And we have, as I say, with Leicester, a really very recent example of that process.
Well, yeah, a really easy example with regards to Murty is that, he was able to bring Kenny Miller back in. He had the freedom to do that as a caretaker manager. The decision, it was a really easy decision for him, and none of the players were going to kick up a fuss about that. Despite everything that had reportedly went on, no one was going to complain. If he's in charge 10 games from now and he's playing Danny Wilson over Bruno Alves, for example, it's unlikely that Bruno's going to be too happy about that anymore. Whereas at the moment he probably thinks to himself, this guy's just going with his team, and it'll be a new manager in a couple of weeks, and I'll show them that I'm the one that should be starting.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Now, that's very different.
And I think it just changes. There's so many other factors than simply saying, oh well, he's been doing well, and so many times caretakers come in, do well, get the job, and are gone within a really short space of time. And then not only have you lost a manager, but you've lost a very good and an employee that was doing a good job in another area that you were happy with, and you then suddenly have to replace for 2 positions. So there is that aspect. One thing that's puzzled me, Alex, or not puzzled me, but one thing I find very interesting is there isn't that much clamour on the board for the time they're taking. And I wonder if it's a case of almost, in this period of limbo, it's like Schrodinger's appointment. We haven't appointed anyone that the people are unhappy with, or we haven't appointed anyone that they're excited with. So at the moment you can still keep dreaming without necessarily having to worry. And I wonder if the fans are almost kind of, because they're fearful, we're all fearful, the board are fearful that they make the wrong decision, that's helping to prolong this period of kind of interregnum. Yeah, there's a trepidation about it. Obviously, we've just come off the international fortnight, so as we do as football fans, that gives us far too much time to think about our club, without any games to take our mind off all the other nonsense. So, yeah, you've got that kind of fear kicking in. You've got the some judgment of the board by some people suggesting that they're not doing enough, or they're not doing their job correctly. A frustration that there wasn't a contingency plan in place, which I think is a bit harsh given Mark Allen's only in the door and he's heavily involved in this process. But yeah, you're right. But the fact that no one's there yet, it just takes that little bit of heat off. We don't need to judge at the moment. We can dream, as you say, and it's always a fun part of being a football fan. Absolutely.
We can sit here and think
speculate.
That Gary McInnes is going to get it anyway, but he's going to turn out to be the reincarnation of Walter Smith,
It's certainly good for the likes of us, on this show. I suppose that if it was just a run-of-the-mill match against Hamilton, everything was settled, this pod would have been about 15 minutes. So, so it's good for the likes of us. But yeah, I do wonder, because Obviously, some people are saying, when's this going to happen, when's this going to happen, but there's not that clamour and that pressure, and you just don't feel it that you might have expected under normal circumstances. And I think it's because this is such a key decision that the board just cannot get wrong. And I felt there was a lot more pressure the last time, for example, to get it done quicker, and a lot more. I could be wrong. I mean, this is all based just anecdotally, and people chant this, but I don't get that impression that people are kind of sharpening swords and saying to the board, you need to have somebody in place by X. Although as we get closer to that Aberdeen doubleheader, I think that may start to change.
It might. I think last time as well, you just got to remember that the first two league results under Murty were defeats, and that just hammered home this supposed lack of leadership and this rudderless feel. So you have to wonder if somehow we don't pick up 3 points on Saturday. Does that then start to crank it up?
I think it would. Yeah, I think it would.
I think that Murty done quite well for a couple of games, so that's sort of taking a bit of pressure off everybody essentially.
Yeah, the Hearts game was huge in terms of that, in terms of giving the board this time. I think that was an enormous result. Okie doke, well, that's all really that's left for us to do then, is to give our predictions for Saturday. Alex, what say you?
I'm going to go for another 3-0. Actually, a relatively routine game. I think Hamilton will just struggle a little bit, and we're playing with a bit more confidence, as you say. 3-0, and Josh Wind has to play well.
I am going to be more confident than I usually am, and I'm going to say 4-0. I think that I agree with you. I think it will be a routine win, and I think that the team are playing with enough confidence and there's enough freshness about the squad that I think that we'll get the job done, hopefully pretty clinically. A couple of goals in the first half just to settle the crowd, and I think that they will go in and do that. Okay, folks, that's as I say, that's pretty much it for this episode of Heart and Hand. All that remains for me to do is to tell you where you can get in touch with us. If you want to tweet myself or Alex, I'm at Ibrox Rocks. It's Heart and Hand account, but I'm at Ibrox Rocks. Alex?
I'm at Strider80, or for the blog site is at Rangers News UK.
Always a good time, actually. Give them the web address as well, where they can find your musings on Rangers.
Web address is just simply rangersnews.uk.
And you'll find a lot of really interesting content on there, folks, so please go and give it a look. If you want to chat to us on Facebook also, just search for Heart and Hand, the Rangers podcast, and up our page will pop, and we do try and get back to everyone, as long as they're not mental, generally speaking, is what we try to do. Oh, and a wee hello from me as well to Scott McKenzie, who is a listener in Salt Lake City. And the reason I say that is that you have absolutely no excuse, Scott, for not coming to NARSA next year, which is in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, which I'm a convention partner at, and very much looking forward to. So, of course, all you other listeners should come along as well and say hi. But in Scott's case, I've known his dad, Davey, for a number of years now. A good way for you over there, if you know any of the Osmonds, by the way, could you get one of them to record something for us? Because that would be great on the YouTube channel, which you should all check out. If you just go to YouTube and search Heart and Hand Podcast, up will pop all our videos, all our podcasts, some exclusive content. But thank you so much we've had over 100,000 views in the first few weeks, which is just incredible. You continue to absolutely blow my mind. Thankfully only my mind for the state of my marriage, but you guys are just amazing, and thank you so much for that. So with that, I would just like to thank our executive producers in London, Mr. Mike Lee and Mr. Paul Miles. Thank my guest tonight for I thoroughly enjoyed that discussion, Mr. Alex Staff.
Cheers, David. Always a pleasure. Always.
My name's David Edgar, and I will talk to you again on Monday. Cheers. Bye.